What is going on, guys? Welcome back to the Suit Up Geek Fix podcast. Hope you guys having a wonderful Friday evening and have a great weekend. But we are back. We're talking another Versus episode today. We know it's been a minute, but now is the time to bring it back. We got a little bit of inspiration from Shang-Chi. So we're here doing the Raid Redemption versus the Raid 2. Now, before we get into it, just want to ask you guys, how you guys doing tonight?
Good, baby.
Excited. I am excited.
Rather swell.
So
yeah, and this is the first time I think me and Deebs have seen these movies too.
yes. I just watched both movies these last 48 hours, and this is like the most giddy I have been in terms of like movie recommendations since Train to Busan. I am blown away at these two movies.
3 times each. 3.
So if you guys don't remember, we grade these off of story, visualables. What are visualables? But visuals, memorable moments, rewatchability, and the overall grade of the movie. But
What's
you know
going
what,
on,
guys? Let's get straight into it. I think we should just start with the first Raid, and that's story. What did you guys think of the story? I'm gonna go to you. I don't know who I'm gonna pick. I'm gonna pick. I don't know, AJ. You're looking a little spicy right there.
Eeny, meeny, miny, mo. Okay, story wise, this is probably the most basic story anybody could have thought of. First of all, it's just about a group of policemen going raiding into an apartment building full of just crime lords. That's basically the fundamental plot of the movie. And then you get a little bit more elements within it. You get God, it's been a while since I watched the movie. Rama, he finds out that his older brother is within this building. So now his objective changes to saving his older brother. So that's basically the whole story. It's basic, but it's done gracefully by Gareth Edwards. I think it's Gareth Edwards. Evans, yes. I don't know why I said Edwards.
You're thinking of Rogue One.
Yes, I am. Thank you. Gareth Edwards. And he just shoots this movie beautifully. It has so much grit to it, and it just translates well story-wise. So for me, I'm giving this an 8 out of 10 because there's nothing really too simplistic about the story, but it's done beautifully.
No, honestly agree. What would you grade the story, AJ?
8 out of 10.
Yeah,
Awesome. I gotta agree with you though. Going into this movie fresh mind, I knew that Iko Uwais was like the main role. I didn't know his characters. How I just knew he'd be like the main protagonist of this movie. But the movie starts off a little differently because we get Joe Taslim, who played
Jaka.
Yep. Dude, that's a badass name too. Jaka.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's a fucking cool name. He also played Sub-Zero in this year's Mortal Kombat. So that was a little nice to see, I'm pretty sure.
So much injustice in that movie.
I know, dude. Especially after watching this. So I thought the movie like started with his character. The focus was on him, and then it slowly shifted to Rama. Man, Rama and Tama, I've been mixing up back and forth all day. But Rama goes into like the full protagonist mode, and then I like how it switches to his brother. And that ending made me believe the sequel was going to be something completely different. That's all I'll say, because I was cheering them on at the end with that fucking fight at the end with the two brothers, and what's the character's name? Mad Dog.
Mad Dog, baby.
Mad Dog, dude? He was fucking mad too. But we'll get back to that character a little bit too. But I gotta agree with you, AJ. I think this story is a solid 8 out of 10 here. Like you said before the show, it was kind of a testing ground. They didn't have too much budget, so it seems like most of the budget really went into the fighting and choreography, and then they kind of just threw the storyline here and there, which is perfectly fine. And then we'll see what they do with a bigger budget in the next film soon. But what about you, Loretta? What did you think of the story of this movie?
So sometimes less is more. Obviously, a film like this is all about the action, but I think what makes action movies more memorable is when you execute your story well, and that's what this film does. It's very simple. Cops enter a building. You can keep it as simple as that. Cops enter a building, but I think where this story actually excels and actually even earns more of a credibility as a film is giving us emotional beats. For example, seeing Rama's pregnant wife, giving some stakes, giving some weight onto why you should even care about Rama. Like, if you just saw Rama beat up a bunch of guys, you don't know who he is, you don't care, but knowing he has a pregnant wife at home changes the landscape of the story. I also really appreciated the brother dynamic. It very much reminds me of John Woo films. John Woo revolutionized action, but also he always had emotional weight to his stories, having like friends or brothers be flipped on other sides of like maybe the brother's a bad guy, the brother's a cop. Same style here, and it very much reminded me of Better Tomorrow. If you haven't seen A Better Tomorrow, please check it out. The gunfight at the end of that climax is what made John Woo who he is. Let's be real here, guys. So anyways, not to talk about too much about John Woo, back to The Raid. I think the simple story was written well enough to complement the action that is fantastic. I mean, that's why people will go to watch this film. So story-wise, I'm actually going to bump it up a little higher. I'm going to give it like an 8.63.
Oh my God.
I will like,
Here we go.
It has begun.
I would like to say,
pulling out the fist.
I want to punch you in your perfect teeth, Loretto.
And
I would
be
like
careful.
to say, story-wise, that what Loretto said at first, it was simplistic, but I love how they brought in the emotional weight with his brother. It just gave Rama a more of a dynamic towards his character and to be more relatable and more emotional as a character, which Absolutely. I did really, really enjoy. And on top of that, he has someone to go back to when all this is done. So you just feel this sense of anxiety towards Rama because you just want him to be safe and survive through all this, especially since this is probably one of the most dangerous apartment building complexes in the entire world. And it reminded me a little bit of
Chicago.
I think not Chicago, but the area. Yeah, it did remind me of Chicago, but the movie itself, it reminded me of Bruce Lee's.
Bruce Lee. I don't know why I kept getting like Judge Dredd vibes, but I know
it's when he goes in the building. Well, that too. It's all based off of I think it's Way of the Dragon, where Bruce Lee goes to the tournament and he has to go to the building level to level in one building, and it gets stronger people and all that.
Isn't that Game of Death?
Yes, Game of Death. That's what I was trying to remember. Yes,
I got you, bro.
Yes, thank you. But I really love that type of style. It just gives it a lot of depth to each of the fights, and this is what it did for the Raid as well. So I have to. I'm going to change my grade to 8.5. I'm just going to say 8.5 there.
He doesn't want to piss Deebs off too much right now. He wants to save that for later. But before we move on to you, Deebs, I do want to say a little like gripe I had. It's like something so little that I don't know why I can't get off my mind. But I felt in the beginning that the SWAT team was super inconsistent with how not only they fought, but shot their weapons. When they first got ambushed, none of them were capable of holding their ground. But once like the movie turned maybe 30 minutes into it, they all just started fucking laying into people. I'm like, did people just activate hardcore mode on you or some shit? But like, it's not a big deal, just a pet peeve. But what about you, Deebs? What did you think about the story of The Raid Redemption?
You know, I got to give salute to Luke, who is one of our trusty regulars here. What's going on, Luke? Thanks for joining. Matt, as always, what is going on? Geekly Goods is in the house here. Saying two of action's best. I'm right there with you, man. I'm right there with you. And then Rob, he hasn't seen these movies, but God, man, I've seen these last 48 hours, and these are must-see action flicks. But by the way, these are spoilers, so I think truly, like, watch them first, then come back because they're awesome. I think the Raid 1, it's just like really tight plot. Wrapped around amazing fight sequences in confined spaces. I think I really enjoyed how the plot kind of unfolded like an onion as the movie progressed. For me, like this movie was just nonstop action, man. It felt like a roller coaster, just going like up and down and up and down. And I love kind of the takes on the characters, but where this movie just crushes the Raid 2 is pacing. It doesn't let you go. It is just so well done. And I agree, Loretto. Sometimes less is more. And I got to give credit to the director here, like the writing, just the narrative. It just works in a simple action movie. Sometimes simple is better. And the Raid was terrific. I'm going to give this grade an 8.5. I'm going to go 8.5. Just like some of the great action movies. Plot isn't everything, although we'll get into the Raid 2. But for me, it was enough to make it one of the best action movies ever.
Quick,
definitely agree. Go ahead, Lo.
real quick, just about the intro. Did you guys get like Dark Knight vibes, like when Jaka's talking to the crew and you hear the music? The music's like slowly building up, and he's like, "Look, we got to go in there. They're gonna kill us. You guys got to be ready." And it's like it just slowly like starts building and building. Like the tension is just. It kind of reminded me of Dark Knight, like the rhythm of the music.
No, yeah,
Oh, man.
honestly, absolutely agree with you guys.
Yeah,
Okay, I wasn't sure if you were going to say something, but guys, with an action film as action-packed as this, you know we're going to get some cool fucking visuals, right? I mean, this movie is hard R, and when I say hard R, like blood and guts everywhere. We see that a little bit more in the second one. We'll get there, but this movie really did it for me. I'm just going to drop it off to you, Loretto. What did you think of the visuals in this movie?
Oh man. I could go on for another hour about how not only beautiful the everything's shot with the grittiness and the way it's edited. It's perfectly edited to the pacing of the fights, but just the choreography and whether you love blood and guts or not, for people that don't like gore, go away. This movie's not for you. But for people that like violence, that grew up on Mortal Kombat and grew up on like action films, like this is an all-out like machismo action film. There's no other like way to say it. It's bone-breaking. You see throat slit. It's just multiple stab wounds. Like sometimes more like 10 stabs in like less than 20 seconds. It's just spectacular action, and it keeps your eyes glued to the screen, honestly. And what's fun too is that to complement the hand-to-hand, the gunfights are actually really spectacular as well. There's some really well set up gunfights in here, and it's just pulse pounding, like exciting action from start to finish, man. And visually, I love the way it's shot. I love the way the set pieces make sense. You got the snipers up top, you got the spotters, little boys up on each floor looking out for the bad guys or the intruders who are coming in, and the slow-mo on certain sections where you see the bullets and stuff like that. It was just a gorgeously shot film. Visuals, I'm gonna go for an easy 9.
Ooh. All right.
Ooh, yeah, I definitely agree with you there, Lo. This movie was shot beautifully, and it does one of the best things with cameras that you could do with action. That really, I noticed in Shang-Chi, but like this is the reason why we're doing this movie is because of Shang-Chi, and they do the exact same type of camera work. They use a dynamic type of camera work. They stay level-headed to the action of the characters. So if your character's on the ground, they're like fighting on the floor with their feet, like doing the scissors and shit with each other. The camera's on the ground. It moves with the characters, and it always keeps you invested in the movie. And I don't remember this character name, but one of the shots that really stuck with me that I thought was beautiful that they reuse to a certain extent in the beginning of the second movie is when Rama takes the wounded guy that got like his ear blown off a little bit and shot to the side to the person he knew within the complex, and they hid behind the wall and they do the overhead shot of him stabbing through the wall. And dude, my heart dropped when he stabbed it and went right through his cheek. I'm like, oh my God, bro. he kept his composure. So those are like some real good highlights and standouts for me. And I think that's really what makes a good, not even good, a fantastic action movie, a fantastic action movie. So I'm going to go with the 9.5 for visuals on this movie. Let's go straight to you, Deebs. What do you think about the visuals of this movie, my man?
I fully agree, and I brought up Train to Busan for a reason just a few minutes ago. That's what made that movie so effective for me. Like that sense of like high stakes, high emotion, high just panic, chaos, and that's the kind of vibe I got. Because when they're on the train, like there's nowhere to go. You're like there's literally a foot. That's the kind of vibe I got here when they're in the corridors. And for the Raid 1, I really like the soundtrack. This is the one chance I get to talk about soundtrack. The soundtrack in Raid 1, I talked about where the pacing blew away the Raid 2 in Raid 1. Raid 1 had better soundtrack. I thought the film score was really pulsing. It made the moments, the action moments, the heavy moments that much better for me. And I just thought that, when there's so many scenes here where I was watching and I thought I was watching James Wan's Fast and the Furious movie, like the camera angles and like it literally sucks you into the action. And when I talk about James Wan, that's as big of a compliment as it gets, Ryan. And that was awesome. So I'm going a straight 9 for me in terms of visuals for the Raid.
Hella fast. Shout out to the makeup department because everything looked so real.
Oh my God.
Everything looks so real.
No one gives props to the makeup department. Nobody. And it annoys me so much.
Holy crap.
Yeah, they did a really good job, the makeup department, with just the blood and guts. Every time they would just like go for the gut or something, you just see it spray all over the place. Like that shit is not easy to do. And along with the production design itself, it really immerses you into this like super low shady type of high-rise area that people live in, and people that just live there because they have no other choice. So I like that. What about you, AJ? What did you think about the visuals in this movie, and what would you grade it, my man?
10 out of 10. There's legit nothing is wrong with this movie visually. It's simplistic. Everything about this movie is simplistic, but it's used to perfection. Like you guys were talking about the makeup department with the blood and just overall everything, it was just amazing. And the way they shot this overall film and how they incorporated the visuals along with it, just I sometimes just think about this all night. Like, how in the hell did they just recreate a person just straight up dying to death? Like, there's this one shot where Rama kicks this guy to the floorboard and his neck just gets
in the hallway.
Fights.
Yeah,
Here's
like
it's like a broken door with wood sticking up, and it's in his neck.
Like, how does that even work?
Rama stares him right in the eyes. Like,
yes.
This is the bad. It's so badass.
It is amazing.
Silent but deadly, bro. Like
10
every great fart.
10 out of 10.
Oh my God, dude. So this is going to be the really cool one to talk about, because this movie, and even the second one, how do you talk about this movie without talking about memorable moments? I mean, I'm going to start this one because I've got one that I loved fucking to death. And that was when they were first fortifying after being attacked for the first time or taken off guard, and they're trying to put all the debris in front of the door to prevent everyone from coming in. And then I'm like, bro, why don't they start shooting? Like, there's nothing there to like protect them from bullets. Next thing you know, they start blowing through the door. Like, fucking finally these guys start growing a brain. And then Rama comes in, takes a fucking refrigerator, puts a gasoline tank in there, puts it on the door, blows it all up, and they axe the fucking floor, which I'm like, finally you see people that use their environment well. Like, bro, they use it to go down and to go back up once they get separated. And I'm like, you never see enough of this in the movies, where I kind of appreciated those small little details more. And it was super exciting seeing that giant explosion of them throwing a flashbang in there. And you're like, that is fucking cool. Along with when the man just hit him and then boom, right into the fucking doorway. I mean, how can you not? I'm going to give this movie some memorable moments a 10 out of 10. Love this movie half to death. What about you, Deebs? What would you give the memorable moments in this movie?
AJ touched on it. That hallway fight scene was unbelievable. It threw me back to Daredevil and that memorable fight scene, that continuous long shot. So it makes me wonder, like, did they get some of this from the Raid a little bit? I don't know. Maybe AJ, you know a little bit more than I do. But really, the memorable moments for me was Mad Dog. I don't know who he fought in that first scene, but that one where they go mano a mano, and you could see like he takes pleasure in what he does.
He said it too.
Very well. Like,
he said it.
The police
dude, that fight scene was brutal to watch. Absolutely brutal. And then everything building up between Rama and his brother versus Mad Dog was. That fight scene was hands down some of the best choreography I've seen in quite some time. In fact, like John Wick, I thought John Wick was some of the best in terms of what I've seen. I'm very new to this kind of genre of films. And that was an unbelievable, just the buildup of that and how that ended and how it was perfect. Chef's kiss. I will go 9 out of 10.
Absolutely agree.
What I like about action movies is that you just mentioned John Wick. I love how these two type of movies have action that's like so different from each other. You have Kung Fu with John Wick that uses, I think it uses more spectacle than anything, and then you have The Raid where it uses more of their environments and hand-to-hand combat. And it's more gritty and it's more. I think
John Wick is cleaner when it comes to his fighting.
It's more respectful. Yeah. And then you have The Raid, which is more gritty and dirty and just ground to ground work basically. And I really love that type of style as well. So they're two different styles. I can't really decide which one I like best because I watch too many of these movies and it's just. You have John Wick, and then you have The Raid, and then you have a Jackie Chan movie, and then you have Bruce Lee movie, and this is all different types of styles.
They're not all the same.
Yeah,
that's the great thing about action, bro. That's a great thing. There's a lot of action that's not the same, and even when it comes to karate type movies, that they're all not the same. Like I was talking to the guys, I want to do Police Story 1 and 2 because I bought the Criterion of them, and I want to watch them. And you know what? I'm excited for that day. I really am. But what would you give the action in this movie, AJ?
10 out of 10.
The memorable moments. Yeah, I'll take that as your memorable moment.
Okay, yeah. I'll just throw one out of there. I'll let you guys talk about the one of the best memorable moments out of this, but I'll just say what Dodge was talking about, the Jaka versus Mad Dog fight. I love how these two go head to head. You just tell how superior Jaka is to Rama and his brother because he just legit faced Mad Dog 1v1, and you can just tell how Mad Dog is more of just a person that likes to be wild, and then you have Jaka, who is more disciplined, and he tries to perfect his style. And these two combatants let's go head to head to see who will win, and obviously the wild card wins, but it just tells you that there's more than one way to do just one specific style. You can have multiple styles within one movie, and it just makes it that much richer of a film, especially for a martial arts movie or an action movie, to have different types of styles within said movie. So this is a 10 out of 10 for me. And I know one of you guys are going to do the double team versus Mad Dog, which is probably the best moment within Raid, but I'll let you guys talk about that.
Loretto, you go, my man.
You'd be surprised, AJ. I got some surprises for you. I just want to do a quick. I want to do a quick honorable mention because I feel like the action, the fights, all that, that's the focus. But this had a really good villain. Tama is menacing. He has a presence about him that he commands the screen. And I gotta say, to introduce him in a manner where he's in his freaking boxers and like a tank top. He's like eating noodles.
He's
But when you look in front of him, There's 5 guys tied up with plastic laid out on the floor, and he proceeds to just shoot them directly in the head without any flinching, cold, emotionless. Like there's no emotion to what he did. It was just business, and it was just cold.
He was a better version of Amanda Waller, I would say.
But yeah, man, shouts
like
out to
that.
Tama, who really makes this film work. You can't have a great picture without a great villain. So shouts out to that guy. But you know what? My favorite moment is not even an action scene. My favorite. So sometimes the action is it works because of how it's set up.
Mhm.
So my favorite moment is when Mad Dog lets Jocka into the room. He walks around him. He starts unloading the gun. He puts the gun on the counter and says, I don't use these things. I don't like it. And then he puts his hands up.
These are my weapons.
This is what I do.
Oh my
This
god!
is what I do. And I was just
So
like,
good.
oh my God. And that's his code. He has a warrior code. Like,
Mhm.
I'm gonna beat your ass with my fist and I'm gonna love it. Like
Because shooting you is too easy.
He does.
Oh,
He does.
man, when he put his hands up, I was like, let's
again
go.
in the
Like
second part too.
I was ready to fight with him, man. So that scene makes the movie for me. So that the setup right before the fight there.
Mhm.
Oh man, what would you grade? Did you grade it? I might have missed that.
10 out of 10. Hell yeah.
Oh!
All day,
I'm
baby.
last. Damn, I'm last. All right.
Oh man, what is going on, Op Talks? I hope you're having a good night, my man. Wait, Deebs, didn't I go to you first?
For memorable moments?
Oh yeah, I got it all backwards.
No,
in my
I
head.
did mine. I did mine.
Okay, that's what I thought. Okay, that's what I thought.
Is it because your score was lower?
Yeah.
No.
Possibly. Might have just wanted him to like flip it around a little bit. But you know what? It's all good. You know what comes with a great action movie? The rewatchability, my fams. And I think that's when you know a good action movie is a good action movie. You leave it and you're done. The movie's done. You're looking at the credits and you're like, motherfucker, I could watch that again. So what would you guys grade and think about rewatching this movie? What is the rewatchability? I'm gonna go to you, Deebs, because you look like you want to rewatch this already.
So I love these exercises because that's what I call these. The more we talk about things, these movies are fresh in my brain. Like off the top of my head, the Raid 1 is way more watchable than the Raid 2. However, as we'll get into the Raid 2, I think the Raid 2 is a superior film through and through. But all this is changing right now because I said film score is better. I said the pacing is better in Raid 1. I think Raid 1 is more rewatchable than the Raid 2. It just is a roller coaster, a cohesive narrative. It's simple. It sets up the villain. It's shorter. For me, I think, and I enjoy characters getting fleshed out. I enjoy the heavy moments of the Raid 2, and I do think the better moments are in the Raid 2. However, in terms of rewatchability, I think the Raid 1 takes the cake. Like I could easily see myself just sitting back and putting this on and just going for a ride. Whereas I could probably watch, I'm moving forward a little bit, Raid 2 on YouTube and some of the amazing action sequences in that film. So I'm going to give Raid 1 rewatchability 9.
Honestly, absolutely agree with you, Deebs, because the thing is, when I turned on this movie and then I looked at the sequel, I was saying this before we started, the difference is 50 minutes between both films. The sequel is 50 minutes longer than the first one. The first one's an hour 40. The second's 2.5. And that's a lot of time. That's a chunk of time to have in a film. And I think this movie, because it allowed itself and didn't have the budget to go as long and have such a, or I don't want to say such a complicated story, but a more complicated and more complex story that the second one has, it allows us more time to be invested in the little moments, but still have that nonstop crazy action in between. And that's really, like you said, Deebs, is what I love about this movie. I'm going to give the rewatchability for this a 9 out of 10 as well. What about you, Loretto? What would you say about the rewatchability of this movie, and what would you grade it at the end of the day?
10 out of 10. 10 out of 10. I'm smiling all day, and it's like I've seen this movie before, but you know what it is like like the fight choreography, especially in the hallway when Rama has like the baton and he's just like bah, 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 and it's just like he's wiping guys out. Sometimes it happens so fast, like you can't even notice the details. So upon every rewatch, at least for me, I've seen this about maybe 4 or 5 times now. I just noticed like little bits of like, oh wow, he did that. Like he blocked that kick, he blocked that low kick, and then he got him in the gut, and then he hits him in the neck. Like it's just like like for me, I love appreciating the small details in his attack, in his defense, and especially Mad Dog. Mad Dog is super technical when he freaking kicks Jaka's ass. Like the way he was catching him, like he had this one kick where Jaka blocked it, but then he dropped his foot and kicked him in the face anyway. Like, just incredible choreography, and the choreography alone is worth a rewatch just to appreciate it. It's like a fine art. It's like a painting. It's like a ballet. The way like this film is just showing these kicks and punches. It's pure science and it's beautiful to watch.
No, absolutely agree. This movie, chef's kiss. What about you, AJ? I think I already know what you're gonna say, and I'm waiting for you to gush over this. Go ahead, my man.
What am I going to say?
You're gonna be like 10 out of 10, 100 out of 10.
Exactly.
Exactly.
1 million out of 10. I will rewatch this movie. I think I've already rewatched this movie 3 times each. Raid and Raid 2, because I like to watch them back. I like to watch them both back to back. Always. This is basically like Avengers: Infinity War and Endgame for me, for martial arts movies or just pure foreign film movies. I just love how one because it's just so gritty and just down to earth. The other it helps build up everything for Raid 2, but we'll get into that later. But like Lo said, everything from the choreography is just really rewatchable. I really do like the dynamic between the brothers. This is something I cannot watch on YouTube. I can't just watch the action scenes by itself. I need to watch everything point by point because of how everything just unfolds within said movie, especially when we get into Raid 2. But this is a 10 out of 10 for me, rewatchability wise.
I thought you were about to flip the script, AJ. I was like,
no, he never gonna. Nah.
No.
But you know what I gotta say to this, guys? I absolutely love this movie. Right? It's a great action film, but I think this is really where we're gonna show where our hearts lie within this movie. The overall grade of it. What would you guys say? And I'm gonna go straight to Diebler.
I give this a 9 out of 10. I think it's one of the best action movies of all time. But I do have movies that, if it's going to be a 9.5, it's going to be a 10. There are action movies that I think are better than this. That being said, I am straight out embarrassed that it took 36 years for me to finally watch this movie. Well, I guess since 2011, 14. Right? 2014. Yeah. So whatever we did that. So it's embarrassing that I finally watched this movie literally last night. And as big of a film nerd as I am, I was completely blown away. I'm going 9 out of 10. And for me, this was a great experiment because the more I talk about it, this is the more that like A New Hope is better than Empire Strikes Back. Batman Begins is better than The Dark Knight. Like there are parts of me that I love the original for a little bit more than the better, superior film. So for me, 9 out of 10.
Man, that's really high. And I don't want to be the Debbie Downer here, guys. I don't want to be. But I think you're forcing me to because you guys are looking at me like, what the fuck's wrong? But you know what I got to say to that? I got to say, I love this movie. It's a great action film. I agree with what Deep says. I don't think it's the best one in the world, but man, it's got the rewatchability. It's so much fun in its own right. Not fun that people getting murdered, but it's just a fun action film. You can sit down. You don't have to worry about too many plot points. You generally get the gist of what's going on. You don't need to go in with any preconceived notions or really know anything else. turn it on, sit back, relax, and watch a lot of ass kicking. And with that said, I'm going to give this movie an 8.7 out of 10. I love this movie, just a little bit under Deebs, but you know what? I'm definitely going to watch it in the future again. What about you, AJ? What would you grade I was going to say series, I don't know why, but the film overall. Too much what if, bro. Too much what if.
The Raid is on my list of top 100 movies of all time. It is. I'm giving it a 9.7. Sorry, 9.7569824988.
Here we go.
Out of 10. Just because I already spoke on this, but the story is simplistic, but it does get a little bit of depth within it. But other than that, everything is just straight up perfect, from the action, the visuals, the music, the acting. And this is a cast mostly of stunt performers as well, which is even crazier. And it's just, I just love everything about this movie. There's nothing I would change action-wise. There's nothing I would change performance-wise or story-wise because of how simplistic and how perfect he uses camera work, how perfect he uses sound. Everything just works perfectly for this movie. But can we start Raid 2 now? Or
we gotta wait for
Loretto. We got Loretto. I'm sorry.
Anyway,
AJ doesn't like you.
9.75 for me out of 10 for Raid.
What about you, Loretto? What are your overall thoughts and grade for the movie itself?
Yeah, I mean, it's one of the greatest action films, period, at least in my opinion. It cracks my top 10. I actually just recently got a letterbox. Follow me, hit me up. But one of the first things I did, because it's a genre that's near and dear to my heart, and I made a top 25. It's on there if you guys follow me. I did a top 25 action. I had to put the Raid in my top 10. I mean, yeah, sure. Like does it like break the box office records, or does it like, establish something like completely new in itself with like the Matrix or like stuff like that? Probably not, but still, in terms of just sheer ferocity and memorability and rewatchability, it's one of the best action films, period. Funny that you mentioned that, AJ. That's where my heart was too. 9.75. I have just slight issues with like the way everything wrapped up at the end, but I mean, it's almost a perfect movie, and that's like one of the best scores I can give. So 9.75.
Wait, what's your letterbox? I'm looking at it now.
I'm gonna drop it in the chat, man. I got you.
It's about now. I found it.
What was that?
I found you.
Oh, wait, what?
I found you.
Oh, cool.
He's like, I just stalked you a little bit, Found your letterbox.
Well, yeah. Hey, actually, with that being said, though, I'm actually gonna dip out because I don't know how the Raid 2 ends. I'm only halfway. So, as always, gentlemen, it's always a pleasure. I can't wait to see how this turns out when I finish the movie.
See you later, cutie.
Catch y'all later.
All right, guys. We are down to 3 people. Yes, we have lost one to the Raid Redemption. But that's without said. Let's get into the second one, baby. The Raid 2, which I'm surprised that it doesn't have like a name to it like the Raid Redemption does. Does it? I'm trying to look right. I'm looking.
Don't make me pronounce that. I'm not.
Yeah, I'm scared to pronounce.
It's like Berndal.
Oh yeah, Berndal. Yeah, that's what it is. I'm gonna go with that. But you know what, guys? Like I said in the beginning, this movie is 50 minutes longer than the first one, and that means there's a lot more story in this. They got the budget for it, and they said, "Really, let's fucking go for it." So, what do you guys think about the story of the Raid 2? I'm gonna go straight to you, Deebs.
Raid 2, way bigger in scope, way bigger in scope with and I think everything amped up with the fight scenes. I like the complexity here with the story, with the characters. I think that's where this movie shined, was fleshing out characters, and that really just raised the stakes big time in this movie. I also loved how they gave us multiple villains. I also loved how they gave us multiple fight scenes and car action scenes. They gave us, close quarter action scenes. They gave us prison action scenes, everything was on the table. Clearly a bigger budget. And for me personally, like one of my favorite things in filmmaking is my two favorite words is world building. And I think that's what this movie did was this movie had world building coursing through its veins. I will give this a 9 out of 10 for story, well above, way better than The Raid.
Yeah, the story is a massive improvement within this movie. And I think just looking at the runtime alone could tell you that, because AJ was telling me about the small budget that the first one that I didn't know that it had. So it makes so much more sense that the first one was a massive success, obviously, and they just dumped the money into this second one. And you know what this movie kind of reminded me of that I had to think about for a second, because I'm like, wait a second, the movie I'm thinking of stole it from this movie. Probably this movie feels like Snake Eyes, if any of you guys have seen it. I think AJ, you saw it, right?
Guys,
Yeah, this
Nicolas
movie,
Cage, right?
What?
Is that Nicolas Cage?
No, Snake Eyes, bro. The G.I. Joe movie that just came out with
All right, well, there's a Nicolas Cage movie called Snake Eyes, so never mind.
Oh my God.
Forget
No.
I ever said that.
The G.I. Joe Snake Eyes. Let me reiterate that and clarify, since there's no Snake Eyes in here. And I really liked the story, but it also I don't want to say fell flat, but like the son, Oko, is it UCO or OCO?
Huh?
I don't know.
The
I'm
son
sorry.
in the movie, the one they go to prison for, Oko, right?
Iko? Are you talking about Iko Uwais?
Yeah.
Uwais?
Yeah. The friend that's not really a friend. Man, he was just an absolute asshole. I really hated him. Wait, bro, what are you talking about? Oh
You just said the main person.
Yeah, no, I didn't. I said the brother, the
brother?
son.
You're confused.
Uko.
Keep going. Yeah, Uko. Keep going.
Yeah, that's what I said. I'm like, is it UCO or
I was
OCO?
confused. You were like someone, and then I was like, wait, huh?
You should know all this shit, AJ.
Anyway,
I'm sorry.
You're confusing me.
You let me down.
Keep on going.
But I gotta say, me and Deeps figured this out right before the show. The same actor who played Mad Dog in the first one came back in this movie as Prakoso. And we both thought it was the same character. So the entire time, we're like, man, dude, I wish I could survive getting stabbed in the jugular by some light bulb.
Yeah.
Shit, bro. Which is absolutely insane, but different character. But yeah, Uko is an absolute asshole in this movie. I'm going to give the story a 9 out of 10 in this. I'm going to give it to you, AJ. What did you think about the story?
10 out of 10. I'm just going to spoil it for everyone. This whole movie's getting straight up 10s. I'm going to be like Oprah on this bitch right now. 10, you get a 10, you get a 10, you get a 10.
You get a 10, you get a 10. I just
love everything about this movie. Story-wise, it's amazing, and it just ups the scale from the first one. Much like what Dabs was saying, world building is everything for me as well, and it does everything right, especially including political aspects within this movie, within the crime lords and all of that. So for me, story-wise, it's straight up 10 10s out of 10s.
Nah, honestly, super agree with that, my man. But you know what? Something that really had an improvement in this movie too. There's this one visual in the film that I just can't get out of my mind, and the visual is I forgot who had the machete, but they stabbed someone through some wood plank.
Yeah, that was awesome.
And they pulled it out, and then the camera goes on to where opening was, and then it switches to the third person view from looking inside the body. I'm like, dude, good cinematography. It goes down my spine like no tomorrow. And another good visual scene is, like I said, within the first one, when they do the pan over shot looking down, they do that in the beginning when Rama is in jail sitting in the bathroom, and he's just looking at the door, and you're ready for him to just bust it down. And you're like, man, there's probably like 5 people back there. He's going to fuck him up. Nah, bro, there's a whole prison. So then they go up, and just watching him fight them was just so cool, and that type of thing. Watching him throwing them over, knocking their head.
Overhead shot.
The overhead shot.
Everything.
Dude, I'm like, oh my God, this is everything that I wanted. And it literally, to put it in lack of a better term, made me nut. That's it right there. Visuals, 10 out of 10 for me. What about you, Deebs?
Yeah, like this is the one where like if I could give something an 11 out of 10, this is it. This is it right here for the Raid 2. I just thought it was shot so well. Like it was very clear that like they learned a lot from the Raid and other movies, and like there was a much better, clearer picture with what they wanted to do with the Raid 2. There was a shot like in that car chase, which was so exciting, where you see the camera go like it comes in, then it goes in through the car, then out, like just like they did with the Raid 1. Like those kind of like camera work, like it makes you just thrown right into the action. For me, it's a straight 10 out of 10. Like I said, like I think the acting, the characters, the stakes, everything was just dialed to 11 in this area of the movie. For me, it's a 10 out of 10. Like this is awesome.
Yeah, you can definitely see where the money went within this movie, and it went to all the right places. What about you, AJ? What are your visual standouts? Go ahead. Let it
10 out of 10.
Gates.
10 out of 10. What I do love about foreign films is that they put more attention to detail than more US type of films. I feel like that foreign films like in Jackie Chan movies or Bruce Lee movies or Tony Jaa movies, they pay closer attention to detail when it comes to the action sequences or their just overall everything, and they take more time. Whereas in US, they give you a limit to how much time you have, which sometimes will cost the movie if it's going to be a good movie or a bad movie. But with like something like The Raid or Hero, you can just tell how much attention to detail they put through everything and how much time they put through every action sequence. And you can just tell how much of a perfectionist Gareth Evans is within this movie. And honestly, he was going to make a third one, but he said he got so burnt out because of how much time and attention he put into these two movies. He was like, I needed a break. And that's why that's pretty much why he didn't get a third one. Good. And this is actually why so many people wanted him to do a Deathstroke, yes. I was gonna say Deadpool. A Deathstroke movie, and everybody wanted that. But he said he was going to take a little break from action movies, which is fine with me because
wait a minute. Wait. What other genre does he do? Do we know?
Well, do like romantic comedies.
Right now, he's working on a Netflix show, a series.
Is he right?
I can't remember what it is, but he's working. Let me actually look it up.
That's awesome. It's probably a Christmas movie or something.
Something completely different than
okay. So he's working on the screenplay called Blisters.
Never heard of it.
There's nothing about that one. There's no news on that one yet.
We need the Raid 3 though. That's all I'm saying.
No,
he worked on Gangs of London. And he's working on Havoc, which is probably it's going to be another action movie. So it's mostly action. But anyway, everything that he's worked on is just time and perfection. Much like Jackie Chan, I think he gets a lot from Jackie Chan when it comes to being a perfectionist, which is perfect for me. And then that includes the editing, because he also helped with the editing. He helped with all of the stunts. He helped with the visuals, cinematography, everything.
That's what makes a good director, though. Yes. I think someone who goes in and does all those things.
Mm-hmm.
I'm embarrassed. I never heard of him until this.
Yes,
I've heard of him, but I'd never seen his work up until now.
I would say you have heard of his work for some things, but you just
I have. Or are you talking about Deebs?
One of you guys, whoever.
I haven't. I 100%, unless I've seen some of his projects.
Have you watched VHS?
No,
he did VHS.
He did VHS.
No fucking way.
Bro. Have you watched Apostle That's on Netflix.
No.
No, okay, and then probably not then. But he does a lot of good work.
I told
I've
you he
heard
did some wild
VHS is
shit.
really good. I've heard
Yes,
VHS is really good.
Yes. It's amazing. And Gangs of London just came out as a TV series. Well, actually, no, it's coming out next year. I think it's going to be on Netflix too, but I'm not sure.
Is that related to
Is it
Gangs
on
of New York?
I don't think so. I don't think so. I think it's totally different from. Actually, it came out in 2020. Season 2 comes out in 2022. There we go.
All right, let's
Dude,
get back on track.
You know what I gotta say to this?
Please.
No, with every great visual comes a great memorable moment, bro.
Nice segue.
And good transitions, baby. That's what makes it. Good transitions. This has one of my favorite fight scenes ever, and that's between Hammer Girl and Baseball Boy.
Yeah.
Dude, I'm just like, bro, did this movie just become like a low-key superhero movie? People are vigilantes now. Like, this dude straight up just hits a baseball bat into his face from like maybe 50 feet away. Like, what the fuck? That's some precise ass aim. Like, he was looking him down, and then I'm like, bro, this is gonna be a killer fight, because you knew Rama was gonna run into them, and bro did it without any weapons, just hand to hand, bro. All he did was take the wrist and then re-guide it. That was his fighting style, and it worked, and I loved it. He jabbed her in the throat, pushed her throat out with the edge of the hammer, and then, oh my god, he fucking swung the bat into his head, and I'm like, dude, if they keep it in his head and it's stuck, that's cool. He takes his hands and it's stuck in the dude's fucking head. That is so sick, bro. I can't get that out of my head, and it is the grittiest fighting that you will see in a minute. And then it goes on to have a great final act, and then stabs everyone in the throat, because that just seems like a fetish within these movies. Everyone goes for the throat. They know where to go. They're like, I love your throat. But you know what? I'm going to give the memorable moments a 10 out of 10, my man. I love it. What about you, Deebs? What are your favorite memorable moments, my man?
15 out of 10. 15. Like, I have this like weird meter when I watch a film. Like, it's like the Dives giggle meter when I'm like watching Shang-Chi, when I'm watching a horror movie, when I'm watching like, that was really cool. That's awesome. There was probably about 8 of these in the Raid 2 where just so many badass moments that just completely made my jaw drop, completely made me geek. You touched on one of them, Ryan. There's just, and you go straight to that kitchen sequence. You go straight to the baseball dude and the girl versus Rama. Like, just an unbelievable sequence of 30 minutes, something around the like 30 minutes or something, where it's just pulsing, amazing action choreography that I haven't seen in quite some time. Like, that is, AJ, you could correct me if I'm wrong. I haven't seen that kind of level of action choreography ever. And it was so good. Ready for this? It was so good that right when I stopped watching, my wife got done with work, comes home with my daughter, and I was like so like revved up. Like, that was so good. Like the Raid 2. And I have to show you this sequence. And we rewatched the kitchen scene, and my daughter's sitting there. She just turned 2. Like, we don't know how much she processes like on the TV and stuff. And we're like literally 2 minutes into the fight scene, watching it on TV on YouTube, the kitchen sequence, and my daughter starts crying. It is that intense. It is that intense. So the build up, the memorable moments in the Raid 2 are absolutely a 15 out of 10. Quick nod to the dude that got his face burnt to a crisp on that like burner. That was like one of the most gruesome finishers I've seen in this series. The prison riot was bananas. The Hammer Girl on the train just was probably pound for pound one of the most bloody sequences of the franchise. But yeah, that Rama versus the assassin sequence in the kitchen was just so epic, especially considering like I rewatched it like already 4 times. And I love how they walk into the scene and the assassin's like so cocky and confident. Like, he's like almost toying with Rama. And The kitchen's sterile. It's clean. It's like just it's
Full of
like,
blood by the end of that fight.
at the very end, like just like take an image of where the scene begins and ends. It's really, really funny looking because it starts as like this beautiful chef's kitchen, and then it's a straight bloodbath. Best that will go down, AJ, as one of the best action sequences I've ever seen in my life. Period. 10 out of 10, 15 out of 10, 10 out of 10.
And he had like a really good finisher move too, I'd say. Like, bro, he had both blades, Rama, and homie's going to town, just slicing him
No,
up.
that scene where Rama's like dodging like every single like one, like oh my god, like how do you time that? Like I haven't seen that before. And you like I'm sorry, Shang-Chi, like you don't hold a candle to any of this. You don't. It's not even close. And this actually, as much as I love Shang-Chi, and this is like the after effects here, I'm like, I kind of want more.
Totally get it. But AJ's looking like, oh man, I really want to talk about this. He's like, he's like, I'm prolonging this because I want him to feel a little uncomfortable because it's just building up inside of him. It's just that tension. But you know what? Go ahead, AJ.
Yeah, it's a straight 10 out of 10, like always. Welcome back.
Anyway,
Anyway,
man.
10 out of 10 as always.
AJ's still at 10 out of 10.
Just all 10s around the board. But that kitchen scene is probably the best scene of all, action-wise, martial arts-wise. Probably in my top 5 martial arts scenes of all time. And if you guys know, I'm addicted to martial arts movies. Always, and always will be. But the one scene I do want to talk about is I think how you pronounce his name? Picasso. I can't pronounce his name.
Yeah, Picasso.
Versus the assassin, which wasn't even a fight. It was just straight up.
Just slaughtered.
Like,
Yeah,
you guys got any Western vibes? Like there was like Western vibe. I was ready for like something like what was that called? So just roll by. Like he knew he was done. He knew he was.
Yeah. He fought a lot of people prior to that. He was exhausted. He knew he was out of it.
Bro, it reminded me a lot of Kill Bill.
There's a lot of Kill Bill vibes in the race.
Yeah, like when she was like, bro.
Yeah, but this felt more realistic than Kill Bill. Like,
oh no, I don't disagree. Just the whole setup, the entire
scene
scene itself just reminded me of Kill Bill. I think the way they did that fight was much grittier, much more hardcore than Kill Bill. Kill Bill just like stood a chance, and Rutsko, oh fuck, I forgot how to pronounce his name. Prokoso is dude, he's just like fighting dirty. He's using every inch of his energy to fight back, and then he only wins because I think he might have been able to beat the assassin if he was like full energy and just didn't go through that fight.
Oh, I don't know.
You think? I don't know, man.
I don't know about that.
Bro, fucking Mad Dog almost lost a sergeant in the first one with one person, and then he just becomes like Super Saiyan by that final fight between Rama and his brother with his brother. Like, I believe this guy can do it too. All hail the mighty Saiyan.
There's a part in that kitchen scene, like at the beginning, where the assassin's like smiling and like very cocky, very clearly like underestimating Rama. Mm-hmm. And then like literally like 5 minutes later, he throws him into like this wine cellar and throws him through another window glass. And then you see that anger, like, what did I get myself into? Like, just amazing transition. Oh my God. I just can't get it. I'm gonna watch that fight scene probably about 30 freaking times before probably the end of the month.
I would suggest watch the first one because it's the first one over 2, but you don't really have to watch them back to back because they don't really connect as much. So you can watch
I disagree. The beginning of the second one just spoils the ending.
It does.
Of the first one pretty much.
Brian's right. Yeah.
Beginning of the second.
The beginning of the second one. Like, bro, they literally just. This is a spoiler show, so sorry if you're listening, but bro, he literally just slaughters all the remaining characters after the first one. The brother dies with the shotgun in the face. The old grumpy dude that wanted to kill himself, I forgot his name, died within the beginning of this one. The injured, we don't even know what happens to the injured SWAT dude that lost the ear. So I guess he survived, but who really knows? You know what I gotta say though?
Rewatchability.
Yeah, dude. The rewatch. No, that I was.
Nice
Dude,
segue.
I got the segue.
I
bro.
know
got the
Ryan
segue.
talks too much.
Segue. But you know what I gotta say? That's the one thing that I feel like goes down a little bit for me when it comes to the overall aspect of this, and that's the rewatchability. Like Deebs just spoiled a minute ago because I wanted to talk and hear my voice for so much longer. But you know what I gotta say? Like I said earlier, the 50 minutes, you feel it in this movie. The first half of this drags for me a little bit to
Yeah.
a point where I got a little bit bored when the fighting wasn't happening. But I think that's because they have the writing, so they have to build all the characters up. And I think it could have been done a little bit better. And I think that's the thing. The first one has superior the most over the second one. The first one has great pacing, but this one really falls down a little bit for me. And then it gets a lot better in the second half because that's where the action really just goes from one action scene to another to another. So straight away, I'm going to give the rewatchability a 7.5 for the Raid 2. I feel like I'm definitely going to be the lowest one here. I want to rewatch it though to like fully commit to that grade. But let's go to you, Deebs. What do you think about the rewatchability of this movie?
Straight, I gave it an 8. I already said the Raid Redemption has got way more rewatchability. There's a lot of parts you could probably fast forward, even though I don't recommend it on the first, second, or third watch. But there are definitely moments, especially in the second act, that drag a little bit. But if you watch it, it just builds and builds and builds and builds and layers characters and makes that last 30, 45 minutes that much better. So I'm giving it a little bit of a lesser score than the Raid. But like that doesn't take away anything from this amazing film. So you have to kind of experience like where the director takes you this ride, and the payoff is so worth it. So I'm definitely going to give it an 8. AJ is probably going to convince me otherwise.
AJ, do it. Convince him otherwise.
It's a straight up 10 out of 10. More 10s. Like I said, more 10s. I disagree a little bit with Ryan. I love how it was the first act of the movie felt more of a slower pace because we needed that world building, much like what Dives was speaking of. We needed that world building and the character development between the first 2 acts into the third one to get all these amazing action set pieces to have a little more weight towards them. And to be honest, I figured the action Dives even touched on this. The action sequences are a little bit better than the first movie. And I think it's because of the first 2 acts where you get the world building, where you get the character interactions between them, and then you get to the third act where you get so much action sequences. It holds more weight than the first one. So if I could go higher than 10 out of 10, I would, but it's going to be a straight 10 out of
Man.
Man.
And we come to the end of this, bros. We got the last category for this. And I think that is the overall grade for this movie. And I'm going to be a little shocking. I think overall, I feel a little bit on the lesser side of this movie than I do about the first one. And that's solely based off the pacing for me. The pacing is really what saved the first one from being overtaken from the second one for me. So the first one I gave an 8.7 out of 10. This one I'm going to give an 8.5 out of 10. A marginal difference, not too much, not too little, I think. But you know what? I want AJ to just upfront me. What do you think about your overall grade for this movie, AJ?
10 out of 10. Go on, Dad.
He's like, you motherfuckers already know what I gotta say about this movie.
I give it a 9.5. I think I gave the first one a 9. This is a 9.5. I love how they flesh out the characters here. Everything works because of that, especially in the end. Like, I can't think of a better action movie, pound for pound, that last 45 minutes. And it's all because of everything it gives you beforehand. So it fleshes out the characters. It doesn't have the pacing, but what it does give you is just a reason to fight and believe for Rama. And he's just gone through a lot of shit. Like what he has gone through in this film is absolutely bananas. Even beyond than the Raid Redemption. So like if there was a chance that we could ever see like Rama versus John Wick, like this two had some tough upbringings, man. Like they've had some tough times, and I would love to see those two go mano a mano. But at the end of the day, the Raid 2 is a better film because it gives us more diversity. It gives us different multiple action sequences, whether it's fighting styles, whether it's stylistic action sequences, whether it's car chases and hand-to-hand combat and gunfights and all these different things boil down, I think, because of the character development, which was lacking in the Raid. So for me, it's a 9.5, one of the best action movies I've ever seen. I can't stop thinking about it. It's killing me, AJ, and I can't wait to watch it again, probably tomorrow.
Damn. And as Deebs wraps those numbers up, does the math, tells the system who or which is the better movie, I put those in quotations because it's just numbers. You know what I mean? Numbers don't really have an effect here. We just do it because it's fucking cool. But while Deeb's doing that, guys, don't forget, every Thursday we do our What If / Marvel reviews. So even after What If, whatever Marvel shows come next, we will do them on Thursdays because they are releasing on Wednesdays now at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So check those out every Thursday when there's a new Marvel show out. And every Friday, we're going to start continuing in the Versus series. We don't know what next week's is, so that leads me to say, guys, check out our Twitter at the Suit Up Geeks so you can always stay up to date on what we do and our schedule. And let's get to the numbers.
How do I zoom in on here? View. Here it is. Zoom. I found it.
Zoom in.
Can you see that?
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. So this was really close. So out of all four of us, the Raid got a 92.6%, and the Raid 2 out of all three of us got a 94%. For me, I'm just glad. I'm just honestly, as a movie fan, as a movie nerd, we've got to experience these two amazing action movies. I think personally the Raid 2 is way better than the first one. But I do appreciate the love and the amount of time and the makeup effects and the pacing and the film score. Like, so much love went into the Raid. So I'm glad to see it's really close. But ultimately, I would probably expand that lead for the Raid 2 a little bit. What are your guys' reactions?
I'm shocked, but also not shocked because I figured that the Raid 2 would overdo the Raid Redemption. But like you said, I feel like overall, for me personally, the first one's just an inch above the second one for me, just because I feel like it can keep me invested more longer. It keeps my attention on the screen because that first act within the second film is, yes, I get the point, but I don't think they do it in the best way, to the point where the information they're feeding me feels like more of a chore than, oh, look, I'm interested, let me learn more. And I think that has to do with Yuko. I just didn't like the character. Yes, you didn't like him because he was so evil, malicious, and you wanted him to die. And yes, that's why I felt like it was great when he got his throat slit. But man, the whole opening act, he did a whole switcheroo on who we consider friends and stuff like that. But yeah, that's how I feel about it. What about you, AJ?
Yeah, I'm not very surprised. I knew you both would love both of these movies because I have the best taste in action.
Obviously.
It is what it is. So there's no surprise. You're welcome.
Oh, man. You got any final thoughts, Deebs, before we wrap it up?
I did have a thought and it just left me. I don't know what I was about to say. For me personally, like, these would definitely qualify as greatest action movies of all time. And I went back to our action movie draft. That was like literally a year ago. It was a 2-night draft where we had 20 teams, and only Gabe picked the Raid 2 in the third round. and I don't think Gabe went very far. The Raid did not get picked. The first Raid Redemption did not get picked, which I'm surprised. If I had to redo that,
Definitely
I'm telling you right now, the Raid 2 would be so high on my board. So high. Obnoxiously high. So that's my final thought.
No, definitely two great films. And honestly, I think this was a great one to come back and do. But thing, guys, I looked at my fucking light thinking it was my camera. Why would I do that? I just blinded myself. But you know what I gotta say to that? Thank you guys so much for tuning in tonight on our Versus series. Like again, check us out next week. And don't forget, next weekend or the 18th, the Saturday, is our next movie draft. So stay on Twitter so you guys can stay up to date on that. And yeah, I guess we'll see you on the next one. Peace, guys.